So let's do the panel. And let's have that start as maybe your first question then, Dan.
I have other questions.
You might have some other questions, but let's keep this, you know.
I'm getting ahead.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Love you, man.
Thank you, my panel.
Thank you so much. I'll talk in both. Great. So we have Jeanette now. It's back.
Good.
Fantastic. I don't know if you saw the diatribe that was just happening right now. So get ready. Do we have everyone?
I believe we do. Donna, yes. Or no, wait, Donna's there. Okay, good.
All right. Take it away, Dan.
I am Dan Olds, and I am doing this panel. It's been it's taken up minutes of work since Mark sent me an email about an hour and a half ago saying, hey, you mind doing this? Okay, sure, I'm here. It's not like I had something else. Anyway, thank you all for being here. This is going to be a good and fun panel. What is the title of the panel again? I put everything but my... We are the panel for accessibility, inclusivity, community engagement, and educational interdisciplinary collaboration. Yeah, we'll hit some of that. Good. Okay, I'm kidding. First question, I've got a few questions I put out there, but I want to get everybody involved, but not on the same question. Jeanette and Alex, you're first. When designing a hackathon, where do you start conceptually? Is it with a goal of the skills you want the participants to learn, or is it with coming up with an interesting challenge that will capture their attention and draw them in? Or something different?
Well, since Jeanette is still muted, I think I will go first. Like the way that I typically start with a hackathon is kind of a little bit before that, which is what kind of audience do I actually want? Like, who do I want to be there? And then that goes together with what you just said. What then do I want them to take away from this? And these two kind of really go hand in hand, because depending on who you have and depending on what you want to do, these might sort of interconnect, and you need to plan around like both of these aspects. That's at least how the way that I start.
Okay, Jeanette, what do you think?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. Like, considering who do you want to be there, and like what's the overall goal of the hackathon? Like, what's the intention with it?
Okay, great. Well, thank you. Very good. Martin, I was nodding my head sadly at your first part of your presentation. I was shocked to find out that the universities I was going after for my little competition, they don't teach Linux. You can be a computer science graduate, get all the way through, get great grades, and really never have to fire off Linux commands into, hands-on. That shocked me. I'm fixing it. Same thing with HPC skills, except at a very few universities. Is your program helping to get the universities to add some of that stuff back in?
So that's a really interesting question, and I think I might have hinted towards that in a response I gave to Paul earlier on. There's a huge amount of competitiveness in, I think, all undergraduate curricula. Mm-hmm. That very many modules that have been developed as a sort of labour of love, really, by academics over a number of years. They are in certainly second and final year modules and optional modules are very much focused on the research interest of the academics concerned, which is absolutely fantastic, because one of the jobs of academia is to channel that research into industry and take that research on a journey so that it can be applied. But we often forget about what happens at the start of programs and to consider programmatically what those underpinning skills should look like. And although it wasn't part of this particular program, some work I've done earlier on was, in fact, to redesign the whole of the first year. And right at the beginning of that first year, to look at the underpinning skills that undergrads were going to need to cope with the rest of the course. And you're right, the basic command line skills is often ignored. And it is probably the fundamental skill set. And, we imagine that every computer science student, particularly computer science student, but engineering student that comes into a university, they've built their own Linux boxes, they've been programming since they were 14, or they've had a Raspberry Pi. And although that might be the case in some quarters, it's certainly not every single student. And, thinking about what diversity means in its widest possible sense, a very significant number of young people simply have not had the opportunity to ever be exposed to that. I mean, I'm thinking particularly of young people that they've never had their own computer. They're in a family where they've had to share a computer. It's been a cast-off from another family member. And they've never, ever had those opportunities. So we stand to seriously disadvantage young people.
And
unless and until we consider that.
I want to jump in real quick and say the other thing. When I'm recruiting for my thing, I go through all the faculty members. I go through the classes, a list of classes. And what I find is an awful lot of stuff that I guess I would call, being an old man, fashionable.
Yes.
Like designing apps and how to make a game work. But you still need some basic computing skills to even do that, which I don't see them teaching.
Yeah, and it's about understanding, I think, which of that is important, which is important to retain, without it becoming a history lesson and, old men like us deciding that this is good stuff and you need to learn it, even though you'll never, ever have to use it again. And
it's
quite difficult to be able to select what needs to stay in that curriculum.
Yes.
And what can usefully be discarded, so we can look at all of that trendy new stuff that you mentioned.
Dona, that's a really cool program that you're doing. And what I really like is that you're doing the parts that are tougher, tracking the students or the interns afterwards, so you can go back and prove how good it's been. In your quest, since you have such a backlog of students, it's finding the positions. Is the problem with getting more positions, internship slots, is it awareness that you have this program, or is it budget, them finding the money, or is it something else?
Well, that's a tough question. It's a combination of things, actually. So I would say with NHS-based organisations, 100% it's the budget. Because as you see, the cost of living crisis and then the host docs just tumbled off from NHS organisations. I think awareness, I'm not in the capacity to judge that because I don't know who I'm not reaching in that sense.
Okay, yeah.
And then of course, there's the elephant in the room that no one wants to talk about, which is political trends. So in 2020, we had a double threat. We had the pandemic, and we had the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement. And so we had a whole bunch of people who were like, I have got a moral conscience and I don't want to go into fintech, and I'm considering going into health data because I want to do some good in the world. And then when the pandemic sort of well down on people's priorities, then we got that reduced footfall in terms of internships as well. And pandemic's over, we can go back to being completely immoral. Just kidding. So there's that. And then in terms of host organisations, the Black Lives Matter movement really woke up a lot of people who didn't really think about the problem, didn't think about underrepresentation. But again, since that sort of slid on a little bit on the back burner, there are other emerging urgent priorities that have come up.
Are you limited to only the UK in placing the interns?
Currently, yes. It is a possibility of looking in the future, but that is something that's
You could
very
make some
early
headway in the US with this.
Yes. Our chair of our advisory group is constantly pushing us to go internationally, but that involves logistics issues like visas, etc. So we're looking at this. And it's very much in our radar, but we're very early days on it.
Okay. Now, at the end here, what's your name again?
My name's Jenny.
Jenny, okay. And you're with?
2I2Z.
Okay. That wasn't on my list. She was not on my list.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So I'm going to let you design your own question. But make it hard, but not too hard, but make it interesting and compelling so I look good for having thrown that to you.
My goodness. Okay, I've kind of been put under the spotlight here.
I know. That's what being part of my panel is
I can ask you a
like.
question if you want.
Oh, good, yes.
Oh, that's really lovely. Thank you.
I thought it was a great presentation, and it was
Yeah.
really, really easy to understand for someone who's not from a data background. So my question is, who is the group of people that you are trying to reach most? Like the people, the target audience?
Yeah, so definitely like we're working with research-focused communities, so we don't really consider like sort of private enterprises. And then we really want to just, I think it's like anyone who needs access to infrastructure who may not have the means to like run their own sort of like on-premise sort of bare metal servers, etc. And I think like often there's like, I think what I referred to in my talk is like sometimes there's a lack of, not lack of expertise, but like I think like, yeah, means to have people to like deploy these hubs. I think it's, you know, changing a lot because we've mentioned that cloud is very popular and that we want to try and get like HPC in the cloud, and there's, you know, a lot of like artificial sort of separation sometimes. So like, yeah, we try and like sort of, we have like, you know, dedicated engineers who are very close to, like they're basically the contributors to these open source ecosystems whilst, you know, managing and operating them. But the real value is like, you know, anyone can really sort of manage and operate these things. You know, you've got Google Colab and other such like SaaS platforms for this. The real value that we deliver is actually being able to take user community needs and contributing developments upstream back up to the open source ecosystem so that everyone can benefit. So whoever uses these tools, these developments are pushed to everyone who uses these packages.
Great.
So yeah, I think I kind of went a bit on a tangent, but anyone
You got
really,
it.
like who needs, yeah, we don't really have much more in terms of barriers apart from that.
Great, and good job. Great assist, Donna. Put her down for higher panel points for next time, because I know you keep score. So, Spyro,
Yes.
what has been I can remember meeting the first EPCC team in the cluster competition. They were smaller teams.
What year?
Oh man, it would have to be 2013
Okay,
maybe,
before me, okay, yeah.
2012. I go back to the
I
very
wasn't
beginning
around,
with
yeah.
that one. But it looks like interest has built in that. Do you have more students than you can put on a single team now?
Yeah, so we used to be 4 students before. So when I joined, we were allowed only to be 4 students, given we were a master's program.
Yeah.
But then that was reevaluated, given that our masters were only for 1 year, and the students, the overload of the extra work they had to do, it was already too much to the MSc, and we were allowed to go the same as 6 students as the rest of the teams.
Oh,
So,
that's
yeah.
right. That's right.
But
There's an
at the same
artificial
time, even the
limitation.
interest is higher than it used to be. Probably because we have more students at the moment that we used to
Okay.
have as well. We have this new cohort as well with MSc in data science. So I did that, and my main interest was in using HPC for AI. But at the same time, I liked the competition. So before that, I was doing a few hackathons. I was in a few student societies where we were organizing hackathons. So when I joined the MSc, I found that like the golden globe of the hackathon for our MSc. So I wanted to participate in that. In my year, there was an AI application there, and I was very glad. So when I applied, I literally asked if I am going to be selected, I want to do that application. And that's why we have been pushing through these years for that. So there is an interest. If we give an AI application there as well, we make it more diverse for other people as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can even select applications as diverse as possible, because our students, they are coming from different backgrounds.
Yeah.
So computer science, a lot of biology, a lot of chemistry. And if there are applications, diverse applications there, they can find something they can relate and they would like to do.
We'll talk, because I've got a potential opportunity for you guys to travel afar to compete and show off your brilliance. Okay.
Sounds good.
Now, microphone to her, because she's going to take us down an entire track. You ready? Here we go. This was the discussion we had before that we decided to table until now. Now is now. Bring it.
Okay, great. So, so it was a question about specifically EPCC programs, but more broadly about HPC in general. So, you know, what is the balance of gender in the young people who are interested in computing? And if it's not 50-50, why not? And what we're going to do about it?
So wait a minute. Your premise, though, is that it has to be 50-50 to be right, to be good.
With error bars, I'm a theoretical physicist.
Some error bars, sure. Okay, okay.
So we acknowledge that, and my opinion is that these conversations should happen. The first thing, the first important thing is to actually acknowledge that we have a shortage in female representation within EPCC. Now the students, I don't know the numbers. There might have been years that we had 50-50, so I cannot say that. And it does sound like a bit that we are not diverse. I can take it, like, depends what we mention by diversity as well, because, like, if you look at our teams, we actually are pretty diverse. Like, our students are all internationals. Like, the winning team was each student from a different nationality with a different background, and some of them with minorities. So some of them had even, like, joined the MSc through different funding options. Some of them could even, like, fund it themselves. So it is pretty diverse. Of course, now the number of females, I wouldn't know the numbers, but we are part of women in HPC as well. So we acknowledge the problem. There are discussions there, and this is a question we are actually trying to answer as well. Some of the solutions, I find they are very similar to what Alex and Jeanette were talking today in the morning. We should talk about this. We should bring into the teams people which represent different minorities. So in our team as well, we cannot say that we don't have any female. Like the second coach, she is a woman in HPC as well. So the best, like, we find that as well good, because that way more female and more girls from the MSc courses can actually see that it's not very male-dominated area. And at the same time, when they see...
Yeah, let's hear from the rest of the panelists, too. No, you're good. You're good. You just like to go. It's good. It's fine. But that's why I'm here, is to stop you. Dona, gender diversity. What are you seeing? What are you doing?
Well, we've actually got majority women.
Okay, then that balances out Spyro and your woeful performance. So good.
I can't quite think of one specific thing that we're doing, but it's more just a holistic approach. So the technical challenge is not a competition, even though it is. We don't describe it as a competition, and we don't describe it as a hackathon. So I thought bonus points for that.
Right.
And it's about, from the get-go, from recruitment, having like an open day virtual for applicants, having a shared inbox where people can come with inquiries. And if you build that support from the get-go, everyone will come. And as Spyro said, everyone benefits from that. So unfortunately, I can't say anything specifically, but I think removing that gatekeeping, a lot of people have been talking about computer science graduates. We have no subject entry requirement for our program. And that means that people, especially women who, you know, I'm not saying like they're more likely to come from a non-STEM background, are also welcomed. And whether or not they have a huge level of data understanding, that's what we're trying to say. We're trying to say health data science is for everybody. You don't need to be a super coder. If you want to be, great, we'd love to have you. But again, it's talking about the wider scale of the field and the roles that could be involved.
Martin?
So I'm going to pick up on that non-STEM thing.
I sensed that with you. I sensed you had something.
Before you said it, actually. But I think that's really important. And in terms of coming back to the work that we're doing on design of a HPC curriculum, to be able to choose and select from a set of problems that don't look like those traditional heavily mathematical HPC problems, I think is one way that we can start to chip away at this. I think I'll also mention that the problems start much earlier than university. So my sister is a head teacher at a girls' secondary school in Hull. And up until about 13 or 14, there is very little problem with any of this, in that young women are as keen as young men in mathematical and computational sciences, but something happens, and it happens outside of school. Society puts pressure on people to sort of conform to particular established gender roles. And I think that's very destructive, actually, because often what happens is that women are pushed into lower paying roles, and they end up being pushed into career choices that are not good for society and are not good for them. And I think that's something that we, I think a lot of us sort of appreciate that and want to know how to push back on it. I don't have any answers. But it is something that I think we've all witnessed that being quite destructive. And, I mean, we'll say, it happens to young men as well, might be pushed into making career choices based on these society's expectations of gender roles. They're just bad for everybody.
See, that's part of my campaign to ban Kim Kardashian from stuff. I might be a little heavy-handed, I don't know, but maybe. Alex, Jeanette, weigh in.
Yeah, I have a few thoughts on this. I mean, I agree it starts so early. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, good. It starts so early, and I mean, now where I work at AalborgUniversity, we also try to do these kind of outreach initiatives, and we try to reach out to them in high schools. So I think we want to attract more diverse students at our universities. We really have to start quite early, already in high school, and maybe even earlier. And also something that is not so tech-focused as such, but letting the students play with technology more. I think that can broaden the participation a little bit. We have some initiatives in Denmark in general called Coding Pirates.
I've heard of that, actually, yes. That's cool.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's an initiative for children aged 10 to 17. And it's about playing around with technology. There's not like a curriculum or anything. It's not like they learn certain things, but they get their hands into stuff, makey or Minecraft Redstone, that kind of thing.
And that relates to something you said about the Inspire site, and you were forced to go do a presentation for a primary school.
Yeah.
Could you see you or someone like you, or you organizing a bunch of people like you, to go in every month and do a little afternoon of some tech?
Could do.
Not so hard.
No.
Yeah. But mark that down. Make a note on that. He committed to that, right? Alex.
Yeah, so I mean, first of all, like sort of harkening back to our presentation in the morning,
yeah.
I think providing the opportunity is a big thing, right? I mean, of course, it's a much too complex problem to say, okay, we do this one thing and then we're all going to be fine. But I think it starts with providing the opportunity, but also what Jeanette said. And that doesn't necessarily have to be on a college level, it can be much younger. It can also be much older. So for example, this one initiative that I showed, which is called Girls Coding Day, they specifically target women that already are in some form of professional role, and they just want to check out if, maybe tech is something for them. So they go there, they go for an afternoon, they get some sort of training, and then they build their own website. It's a little tiny thing,
That's
but
kind of
from
cool.
That can come out, and people can sort of go on from there.
They can catch fire from that.
Yeah. Because I mean, the other opportunities are you enroll in a college class, which is a much larger sort of time commitment that you might not be willing to take at that point in time if you are not really committed to this, or if you just want to try it out. And also, I wanted to say that I really appreciate sort of this calling something not a hackathon, although it is, because I think this sort of strong focus on tech also kind of turns people away. And a hackathon is not only tech. I mean, all the people that have come today probably will know that in a hackathon team, you need more than technical experts. you also need people that can organize stuff. You need people that can do outreach. You need people that can do all sorts of things. So it's not only for people that come there to code.
Good. Jenny, have not asked you yet.
Yeah. I guess I want to expand a little bit more on what Spyro mentioned with the Women in HPC network, which is something that's very directly sort of relevant to this audience, I think, with a bunch of people going to conferences like ISC and SC. So I first got involved when at ISC 23, in which I was one of the women selected to go and participate in the workshop that they have. And I think it's part of the main program now, which is really great to have these sort of this platform and to be front and center stage and engage with people through this network. And the real value of the Women in HPC network, which I believe Eleanor does, she's amazing, is that I've never been to ISC and SC up until that point. I never even considered it. I'd never really heard of it. Yeah. But then sort of being connected to a mentor prior to the event just made it a lot easier for me in terms of entering a new community in which there's about 15,000 different attendees there. So it's a bit overwhelming, but if you know at least one person who's been mentoring you prior to the event, it can make a huge difference. And then they're kind of your entry point to meeting the rest of the people from the network.
And there's great careers in there. And like you said, I know I surveyed my students. 75% of them didn't know that HPC was a thing and didn't think that they had the background to do it. So I keep yelling at them, nobody that's going to hire you expects you to know it all coming in. They want you to learn it and show you can learn stuff. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
It really is. Mm-hmm. And a good attitude, right?
Yeah.
And I think those mentoring things are so important.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, I think through doing it as well, sort of realizing the benefit and the impact of it, I think it has a very strong kind of alumni network. So
yes.
Now I'm a mentoring a person going to SC this year as well.
Okay.
And it's just that kind of really lovely, women in HPC, community driven network, and it's kind of self-sustaining because of that. So yeah, it's a fantastic thing to encourage colleagues to connect with.
Great job. And I want to thank all the panelists. Great job. Those of you that are remote, everybody up here. We're going to stay up here and keep doing this. So if you'll run down and get your plates of lunch and bring them right back. So we'll take a 3-minute break while you do that. Is that okay, Brian?
No.
But thank you. Big round of applause for all these guys. Good job.